find something that works well, and then we continue to use it because it works so well. And then, as we say, we begin to apply that same kind of paradigm, the paradigm of industrialization, specialization, standardization, economies of scale. We begin to apply it to everything. And it doesn't work on everything.
When people say the industrial food system is unsustainable, we throw around that word without really thinking through, well, what does that really mean? Well, it really means it can't go on this way. Monocultures are very dangerous things.
A monoculture is a lot of the same species grown together without variation. Nature doesn't have monocultures. When you grow too much of the same thing, you end up with too many of the pests of that thing. The only reason you can grow vast amounts of the exact same species of animal in close confinement is because you use antibiotics to keep them alive. Monocultures of corn and soy and rice and cotton, same issue.
It takes an immense amount of fertilizer and pesticide to keep that crop healthy. Because nature doesn't like monocultures. Sooner or later, she will destroy them.
I'm sure that crop duster is out spraying for either bean leaf beetles or Asian soybean aphids that have they're like new pests, or at least the quantities of those bugs have gotten so bad now that people have to spray for the darn things, which we never used to have to do. You can see here on my soybeans, you can see how these leaves, they never used to be like that. There's no way. But as long as you're going to rely on just a couple crops and you plant them year after year after year, you know, you're creating an environment where certain weeds are going to want to become prevalent, and certain bugs are going to want to just take over, you know, and eat your crop up. And then the herbicides and the pesticides that you use year after year are going to create certain resistance to them too. And that's what everybody's worried about now. And so you don't know whether it's worth spraying or not. I mean, I always try to err on the side of not spraying. And last year, I think I probably, you know, economically would have been better off spraying. I'm a conventional farmer. Most of the chemicals and technology that conventional agriculture uses is aimed at eliminating risk so that you can produce the most, quote, efficiently. It's not necessarily good for the environment, it's not good for the farmers, it's not good for our rural communities or consumers, but that's the way the system works. Produce the most to survive. In Iowa, just about everywhere you look, there will be the two crops, corn and soybeans. There's really hardly any difference from one field to the next. It's all pretty much just for industrial use. They use it for animal feed, they use it for soybean oil, they use it for making ethanol and corn sweeteners and all kinds of highly processed foods. Most of these farms, when I started farming, had livestock on them. People were raising hogs, and people had some cattle, and even people, when I was a kid, had chickens. These big corporations industrialized livestock production. That really took the livestock off of the family farm and put them in these big factories. You see, there's 2,400 pigs in those buildings, and I don't remember exactly, but a hog obviously produces as much waste as one human being, and if not, probably a lot more. And so there you've got the same thing as a city of 2,400 people. And this is actually a small one. How do you like that smell? So you're talking ammonia and hydrogen sulfide.
Once you concentrate animals in these animal cities that we call factory farms or feedlots, you have all sorts of problems. Not only miserable animals, but microbes like E. coli 0157H7, which is a feedlot bacteria, and it regularly kills people. And you have a huge sanitation problem. You have these manure lagoons full of real toxic waste. I mean, this isn't the kind of manure you can spray in a farm field. It's just too concentrated, and it's got too many pharmaceuticals in it. It's full of hormones. It's full of pesticides. You've created a pollution problem where you didn't have one, because if you keep animals on farms, their manure is a blessing. You can use it to grow other crops. You can close the nutrient cycle between, the animals can eat the crop wastes, the parts of the plants you can't sell, and they produce fertility for your fields. So the animals feed the plants, and the plants feed the animals. It's a wonderful system. We took this solution, plants and animals working together, and we divided it neatly into two problems. One is this pollution problem on the feedlot, where the manure becomes a pollutant instead of a blessing. And then the other is on the farms, we have a fertility crisis, because there are no animals left. So we have to buy synthetic fertilizer.
You know, we can tip the balance of nature to a certain extent, but when we try to tip it too far, it creates problems. And I think that's what we've done in the food system, that's what we've done in our overall economy, that's what we've done in our society. We just got so obsessed with productivity, having more cheap stuff, more and more cheap stuff, and we're facing the inevitable negative consequences.
Health officials are urging residents not to eat watermelons, thought tainted with pesticides. Have become ill in California, Oregon, and Washington.
The first reported case of mad cow disease in the U.S. in Washington State.
5,000 animals part of the E. coli outbreak
Have already been distributed to school lunch
There's a growing fear of an invisible enemy.
And so it's simply a matter of it being time to shift to a different kind of paradigm, a different worldview, a different vision for the future.
Oh, it doesn't get much better than this. When the dew's sparkling on the grass, that early morning sun comes up and you're looking into it, and that dew just is like diamonds. You hear the birds singing. It's a very soothing morning, I think. Good morning, birdies. Good morning. How's everybody today? Good morning, ladies. Come on. Part of our responsibility as stewards of the earth is to respect the design of nature. If you look at nature and you study herbivores, the American bison, caribou, dik-dik, there are things that every one of them exhibits. One is they're always moving. The second thing is that they never eat meat. For 40 years, due to the industrialization and the centralization of production and processing, we've been promoting feeding dead cows to cows. And of course, everybody knows what we have now: bovine spongiform encephalopathy, commonly known as mad cow. It's helpful to say it once in a while, though, so you sound educated. We didn't feed dead cows to cows, not because we were against the industrial food system or anything like that. It was just because an herbivore doesn't eat dead cows. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I can take you right down the road just a mile to our neighbor farms who are feeding dead chickens and chicken manure to their cows. It's considered cheap feed, and they put enough molasses and sweetener in it. I mean, you could if you put enough ketchup on something, you can probably get it down. So you can just go down. Here's the point: you can go down the line: avian flu, mad cow, Salmonella, Pfiesteria, Campylobacter, E. coli. Just go down the line, and every single one of these things is nature speaking to us today, screaming to our industrialized culture, saying, enough.